for these. I had a discussion with Scroll team, and they have agreed to add the conditional endpoint. But Drew, as I mentioned, they were wondering if we can add the specification for that endpoint, probably to the EIP itself or somewhere else where it's more prominent. They were reluctant to work with something that's just in nodes. I was just wondering what your views are on it.
On the API, I started to write it down as an ERC by itself.
Okay.
We phrase it and make it less 4337 biased because it has nothing to do with 4337.
Yeah, for sure.
And I wrote you another thing. Scroll, as far as I understand, is a single sequence rollup, right?
Yeah, but I believe they are working with what's that, Espresso and a few others to get it as a multi-client to decentralize the sequencer as well. But okay. I do follow your reasoning, but from what I understood from Yoav, he wanted all the sequences or L2s to have support at the minimum for this conditioned endpoint before we could launch the shared mempool there. So that's why I've been reaching out to these L2s. And this is what both Linea and Scroll came back with. Linea's request was a bit different. They were wondering if the MEV bundle would solve it. I'm not sure if it would because, as I explained in that message, but I don't know.
I don't want to create a false sense of solving something. The RPC API, as far as I understand it, can't solve much. If you have a sequencer and you use conditional RPC, you will be able to reject a bundle that would revert on-chain, and it's great.
Correct.
But it will. But as I said, if you have exactly one bundler, because you have one sequencer, there's no room for a second bundler. If you have just one bundler, then the only way this bundler, regardless of the API it uses to submit the transaction, the only way this bundler can be used is if the bundle is the first transaction in the block.
Mm-hmm.
The reasoning is like this. If there is another bundler and it creates a bundle, and I, as a user, submit a transaction that front-run this bundle,
mm-hmm.
submit the same transaction once to the bundler, and then and then I invalidate it from a transaction and spend enough gas to front-run the bundle, then
mm-hmm.
the entire bundle, not only my user operation, the entire bundle drops.
Right.
And I simply, with a single transaction, block a bundle on every block.
Yeah.
So, which means the bundler, in order to work, in order to prevent this attack, must have agreement with the sequencer that the bundle will be first. Now, if the bundle is first, then there's no need for this send transaction conditional, because it tested the condition against the latest block. It knows it will succeed. It will never have a different state. So thinking that either send bundle of MEV or send bundle conditional will help in this case is wrong. If you depend on it, you will fail.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'll explain how I've put it towards to a few of the teams that have asked me about this. The way I've phrased it is pretty much exactly what that example that Dror has gave there, where basically a single user could DOS a bundler, not just DOS a bundler, actually make a bundler lose funds without.
No, if there is some transaction condition, it will not lose funds.
Yeah, exactly. If that API doesn't exist, like it doesn't on Optimism right now, like on Optimism, lots of us run on Optimism, and we all could get very easily. Sorry, hopefully no one's watching this is going to do this, but could get easily front run, and our bundles will start reverting on chain. So I've made it clear to them that, like, for the economics of a bundler, that needs to exist. Now, if you want a bundler to actually bundle, to create more than one, to put more than one user operation in a bundle and make that be viable and not DOSable from users that are making your bundle revert for other users, then you really at the moment can only run one bundler, or you have to put the bundle at the beginning of the block. And part of the answer, the question on the MEV bundle. Does that have full revert protection? Because if it has full revert protection, then it is basically the same thing as you'd said.
I guess so. I think, I mean, I can forward you the conversation that I have, the person from Linear sent to me. He did mention it's going to function similar to how Flashbot's the endpoint works. Yeah.
Flashbot API does exactly what transaction conditional does, with just one small difference. We do it by declaring the storage, so you can skip validation and simply know if it will succeed or not. And with the send bundle, they simulate it and to determine if it fails or not. So if that transaction is profitable enough for the server to simulate all those transactions, as with MEV, you're not talking about gas, you're talking about MEV opportunities, which are usually more lucrative. Then you don't care to spend more CPU in order to give this service. But with plain user operation, which are transactions, which pay gas for each transaction, which usually is a small amount, you do need a better than simulate everything. And this is where send transaction conditional comes from. It comes from network that most of the time will succeed, like Arbitrum, where the only chance that it will fail if you just missed a transaction which was emitted that the sequencer accepted just when you sent yours. So it's a mid-air collision, and it will protect you against that, which is great. And it's also a way to create an auction-based. If you have multiple block builders, and the bundlers come and on each block, they try to actually auction the bundle with the current block builder. Then send transaction conditional is a great tool for creating this auction. All the server has to do, it will get a lot of them. All of them will be reverted. Only one can succeed, usually. It could be more if they are small, private, but on the big bundles, only one will succeed. Okay, there's an auction. It will pick the one. This is the only one it will eventually simulate and put. And of course, if it fails the simulation, it will not slash it, but it will throttle it down. So nobody will try to cheat here. At a very low cost, it can solve this auction without simulating everyone. These are the cases, but not in a single sequencer. In single sequencer, it's useless.
I would say that I still want the endpoint, like on Optimism, for example, because on Optimism, almost all of my bundles, like the bundles that are coming out of Alchemy, are single operation bundles. And so if I had that endpoint, then I could have the peace of mind that at least there's no chance for my bundle to revert on chain. And so it is an economic guarantee that I'm not going to lose money. But I will say, I've made it clear to the Optimism team that regardless of the P2P mempool, that I still want that endpoint because it will help more bundlers to have better economic guarantees. But I've made it clear that it doesn't incentivize bundling. So if they want actual bundles that are bigger than size 1, that's when you need bundlers and block.
So I correct my narrative. Thank you, Dan. It does solve you actual griefing. Yes, you're right.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't solve DOS attacks, but it does solve these griefings. If someone front runs you, okay, he will take the money, whatever profit of this bundle, but at least you don't pay for the on-chain revenge. So, okay, I take that back.
So Dror, if you can share that, if it's a new ERC, if you can share that once you have that ready, that'll be great. I'll pass that on to both Scroll and Linear once it's
okay.
Scroll said they have it on their roadmap. They don't have an exact turnaround time yet, but they would let me know as soon as it's ready for their sprint. Linear, I still haven't received a confirmation, so that's the status there. On the fuzzing of the bundler network, I'm still waiting for Bhargava to come back. He has some other priority work to commence, but he told me that he'd pick this up once that's done. That brings me to the other question that we were discussing, Dror, on the apps, was asset or I haven't read that in detail, the tool. I'll probably come back once I have more information. But my understanding was, like Hive, you can spin up multiple bundler implementations and submit user ops from an external service, of course. But I don't know how that's going to work.
Okay, so it's a replacement, maybe a little nicer than Hive.
Yeah, that's what I'm given to understand.
Okay. So we just need a tool, a side tool, to create all the transactions, because it is based on transaction. You need to build transactions, and with user operation, it's a little trickier. You need to prepare them using some script to feed into this tool. Because the way you need to generate transactions, and user operation are a little harder to generate than normal transactions.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean, but I haven't looked at it in detail yet. But I'll do that and probably come back to you if I have any questions, and then we can devise how we wish to proceed on that front.
Okay.
So that's the status I had on the shared mempool. Yeah, and that brings us to the question we have: what is the way forward on 3074? I'm sure Mark had this question as well. So
we will know in 2 hours.
Okay.
We'll know more.
Yeah, but can you be more specific? What's the way forward in terms
no,
of
I'm just wondering, are we looking at, have we, I had a lot of questions on the invoker contract, and do you think it's a good idea to at least look at how 4337, 3074 can work together? Or do we, I mean, there are a lot of security concerns that have been raised in the Mafia forum, and I believe each one of us have our own concerns. I'm just trying to understand what is the strategy here? Are we
Yeah, okay, so
yeah.
Sorry. No.
No, that's basically what I had, Shav. What is the approach?
Okay,
Are we discussing with?
Our approach. Okay, so first of all, you asked, you raised a couple of things. So the first one is about whether it's a good idea to look for ways for them to be compatible, to work with each other. Well, I'd say yes, but wait a bit. We'll tell, like, if and when 3074 is introduced to mainnet, that's the point that we would be encouraged to actually look for ways for them to work together. So I would just wait a bit before I'm actually doing any work on it, like concrete work, other than simple research to check that it theoretically can happen. But in terms of the security considerations, yeah, I agree with you completely. There are security considerations, and this is the reason why I told you the first part, that you should wait a bit, because they are not fully solved. Okay, and we know that they are not fully solved. Like most of the things that are being said in Mafia, we already said them in other channels as well. And it's like we have several security considerations that we are still unsure of, and that's why I would wait a bit.
Okay, I mean, even to decide on anything, or even to consider how we could work on the compatibility, we need to understand whether the auth opcode is going to be allowed during validation phase.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
The opcode as it is can't be allowed during validation, because it uses external source. It's very, very easy. If someone will add it, we'll immediately create a sample DOS attack.
Yeah.
It can't be used. So, which means the only way you can use it is during execution, and go ahead. I think that you can create an account that will wrap an EOA and use auth for that. I find it a bit strange, because the 4337, the point is to be cross-network, and now you're using a specific opcode, which means you're bound to networks that use this opcode. Okay. The nice thing about 4337 is that the core is unopinionated. We are not allowing it to validation, because it will be a DOS attack on such bundlers.
Yeah.
But if you use it for execution, you want to manage your both EOA and your account. Okay. I don't think it's a good idea, but okay, it's possible.
Yeah. One question I have about that is, and maybe we can wait to, or unless you guys have a great answer right now, because I know they are talking about it for the 3074 again on the All Core Devs call today. So it's definitely not for sure, even though it's on the list of VIPs. I think a lot of people want it off. But with regards to the off opcode, I'm not sure I understand how it is different than allowing like a staked paymaster to access like associated, some sort of associated storage, or like have global read access. I don't know if you're a staked paymaster. I'm not sure why it's not
You're right.
allowed under a staking condition.
A staked paymaster, we are saying that, okay, the system cannot validate that this contract doesn't attack the network, so we add a stake, and if we do find that it misbehaves, we will slash it.
Yeah.
Now, if you create an account that supports auth, which means it will allow many users to use auth to send transaction with it, then I will create 1,000 accounts, all of them with a signature using the same authorizer, which is me. And then I will submit all these transactions that are correct. I will increment, I will send a front end with one transaction with this EOA, and all these transactions fail.
Well,
and the bundlers will not be affected, but the staked account will be.
No, but there's that account, that invoker contract that's using auth and that's staked with the entry point can protect itself against that by building a nonce scheme internally, such that for a particular EOA, only one user operation would pass simulation at a particular time, right? So if you're, and then each EOA has its own kind of like nonce that it's using with.
Okay, let's get back to what Shahaf said. We don't think it's a good idea. We think that in the long term, that 3074 is a short-term solution. It is not endgame. It can be easily upgraded into a full-fledged account. So it's a sidetrack. The question is that, is this site is viable and can run for some time, and then it will slow down account SEAs in general, or is it outright impossible and it will fail down? This is the only question. Yeah. So right now we are assuming that it is viable to slow us down, and now we're trying to see how we do it. We don't want to waste too much time. We already wasted too much time about it in discussion because the one thing that is for sure, that if it does get included, it will slow down SEA adoption. Yeah. And we think this is bad in the long term. It might get some benefits in the short term. Now, we're only arguing how good it is for the short term and how insecure it is for the short term. But we agree that in the long term, it's not a viable solution. So, okay, that's what we have to say about it.
So again, it's just, okay. There are several issues with auth call. It's not done. I don't think that it's only that it's like giving an unstaked paymaster global storage access. I think that there are other issues as well. But either way, we are not. I don't think that we should currently be trying to fully solve these issues, because let's see if it's included, and if and when it is being included, then we'll know how to act on.
Yeah, makes sense to me. I think the only thing that I'm taking a more practical approach, where if it does get included, less political, if it does get included, I want for it to do 7 to work with it as best as it can.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then this is exactly why I said that. Yeah, we if it gets included, we will definitely be ready beforehand to have any kind of solution, whether like making the deployment cheaper, making other adjustments, and basically, yeah, we should try to be compatible. Obviously, we don't want to slow adoption, but yeah, let's see what happens, because we also have like an ACD right after this call, and it's explicitly discussing this part, like the issues, yeah, the issues with 3074. And even if it is included to testnet, it doesn't mean that it's going to be on mainnet exactly as is. So let's see what's going to happen.
Okay. So are either of you going to be participating in that call and raising your concerns about the inclusion?
So Yoav is definitely going to be there.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we are all going to raise our concerns, but because there are several discussions going on in parallel in other channels as well, and so it's getting a little bit political. Let's put it this way. Without
For sure, I know.
Yeah, it's slightly political, and as all political arguments are, they are not. They don't tend to be on based on merit, and it's getting tricky to raise some concerns, and it depends how. Politics. Let's not get into it.
Yeah. I mean, while we are on that, just wondering if you would be happy for this recording to go on YouTube, because we're discussing that, or should we hold off?
We should probably hold
controversial,
it.
but
We should probably hold it for a bit.
okay.
I don't mind eventually, I think, but let's hold it a bit before we do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not going to. Like, I don't think I said something very controversial here.
Nothing at all. I know we.
Yeah.
Just
our opinion is no.
Okay.
It slows down the adoption of SEAs, and we think that it is insecure. It's not inherent insecurity. The unknown unknowns. It's too tricky. People think it's simple. They don't understand how tricky and how complex the security issues with 3074. It's very hard to explain it. That's the problem. It's not. We can't pinpoint it. We pointed out that there was a conflict, with blobs, because what's
exactly.
No, there isn't connection, but it is complex. The security model of 3074 is not well understood, and we think it's too dangerous to just import it that way. It's true that it adds a lot of features. Now, here the political side, we think that it adds a lot of features to MetaMask. We're not the only ones who are saying that. So and it's not, and it's hinder SEAs. Okay, this is all known, and the question is, how important are these things? We cannot prove the security vulnerabilities. It's
okay. One thing can be said, though, as you started saying. Okay, if like at first glance, it doesn't look like they're connected, but for some reason you see a problem with blobs when introducing Authcall, then one thing is for sure is that we don't know how many other security considerations and security problems Authcall can introduce. Okay, if it seemingly introduced a security issue for something that looks very innocent, like blobs, how would you just guess that blobs are affected by Authcall? But they are.
This is what I call unknown unknowns. We don't.
Yeah, and we don't know if this is the only one, and we are pretty sure from our educated guess that it's not the only one. That's the issue. That's the code.
Okay, we'll be a little more educated after the call today. This was very short prompt to call for saying something about it. Okay.
That's fair. I believe Mark was raising some concerns as well. Mark, do you have anything else to add on to this?
Yeah, I think I think for today's call, I think Dan and Partha, it's important that you guys attend and voice your concerns, because I don't see enough smart contract wallets or other teams participating. It's mostly it's mostly core devs or EOA wallets that participate in the discussion. So I think it's very
Yes,
important
I agree.
and I don't know how the decisions are made. Is it like, are we going to just discuss and they're going to say, okay, we're convinced that we're going to include it or not after the call? If that's the case, then we really need to like have good arguments during the call.
No, we don't think we will be enough time because there is an agenda for this call. Going to be very little time to talk about it. What we can get out of it, maybe we hope, is that there is a need for an extra call, like an to discuss a specific issue and maybe vote again. And we raised the issue that more participants should be joining this voting, not only the core devs and not only EOA wallets should be.
Yeah, because it's definitely not all the core devs. It's just client devs. Okay, all the nodes devs, and not even all of them, in my opinion. So yes, we already raised this issue, Mark, and yeah, you're totally right. Other types of developers, especially wallet developers, should be included in the conversation.
Yes, yeah, that's all I have. Like it's I mean, in my opinion, like the CIP has serious implication. I don't think it's very minor and like slowing down the development of full account abstraction. I think it's way bigger. Like you will see, yeah, it's really gonna not only slow us down, but like really slow us down. So I think it's quite important that everyone voice their concerns, because we actually have a full path for full account abstraction, and now it might be not the case if this EIP gets included.
I agree. I agree completely. I don't know. I have nothing to add to that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only question on 307 for. I don't have anything else unless you all want to discuss on anything.
I've got a couple small things. It seems that at least Dror and I are aligned on removing post-op, paymaster post-op from the spec. Should we just do that?
Yeah, I will. And
what do you mean removing paymaster post-op from the spec?
From the estimate gas RPC call. Sorry.
Yeah. That's
actually, if you look, I posted on the group. I started with the last call. I was saying about a way to estimate it using the paymaster itself, but think about it over again while trying to write the spec of how to estimate it. It occurred to me that we have a conflict of interest because the entity that estimates is the user, and the entity that pays is the paymaster. And since the only reason for it not to be constant is a case where the paymaster knows that sometimes it has to do more work, like a token paymaster that every now and then need to do a swap. This is something that it cannot trust the user to estimate. The only way to estimate it correctly is that the owner of this paymaster will estimate it and put the value on chain on his paymaster with the value. So there is no need. I don't think there is a need for estimation for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think if
paymaster
is going to use post-op, they actually need to check, like in their validation function, they need to check that the post-op is that the gas that is on the user op that they're sponsoring or whatever is sufficient, like is above their constant. So this is going to be hard.
It's not even above. It is right, correct. Because if it is above, they will pay this extra. If I need 50,000 and someone will pay 1 million, I will pay for the difference. So I don't want to do any other value. They should check that it is the right value. This is how token any paymaster should be.
Yeah, agreed.
Validate these values. So the only thing we might think is some off-chain mechanism to report that, and it could be as simple as revert reason for user operation, like saying the value should be X.
Cool. All right, so we're removing it from 4.3.
Yeah, but for estimate will obviously be removed.
Cool. yeah, ideally, if we can do that quicker. I've had people ask me why it's missing from our RPC.
Okay.
And they point to the spec, and I'm like, well, we've decided in a few calls that we're not gonna have
Yeah, we don't. Okay. I'll add it for us.
The only other thing, what's the status of the 0.7 like spec tests and bundler spec executor code bases?
Okay, so most of them are working. We need to finish. Okay, so there are some incompatibilities between the bundler itself and therefore the tests with 0.7 specs. So that's something that we are currently working on, and most of the issues will be solved in this week, these 2 weeks.
Cool, sweet. And I guess the last question for me, mostly because I've heard this from a few customers while this 0.6, 0.7 stuff's going on. Do we have is there any sort of plan for 0.8 or like a cadence by which we're looking to like release things? I understand if security releases need to happen, but is there a sort of plan for 0.8? Or are we just saying that right now we have no even reason to consider a 0.8? So there's no plan.
Depending on what? On the user operations tract?
No, just a new entry point address, even just so it's like customers who are concerned more so with their like need to upgrade their contracts, like their accounts to a new trusted entry point. They're trying to think through kind of what they should expect the cadence of this to be. What I've been telling them is that you should expect it to be very sparse, because right now we think 0.7 is a pretty good state for 4.3.7. But I'm curious what your guys' opinion is on.
Yeah, we don't have any plans to release a new entry point soon. We are not even we didn't even consider that. And yes, it's going to be sparse. How sparse exactly? I'm not sure. I mean, as Dror would probably say, and Yoav as well. If there are security considerations, then we'll obviously have to make adjustments.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think we're cool.
Okay.
Cool. There aren't.
Right.
The reason for a change is either a feature or a bug. Okay, let's put aside bug fix. We truly hope that we won't find, but we will get more audits. They might get something. We hope not. So the other thing that could be features. We're not expecting to add more features. It could be that the only thing I can think is that no, the entry point summary issue. It's not fully gas optimized. We try to make the code more clear than fully optimized.
Sure.
Is it worth to reduce 10K gas and change the entry point address? I'm not sure. But even if we do, and again, we're not expecting to change the user operation structure. So even if we do, it's possible to support 2 entry points that are equivalent except like gas usage.
Sure. Okay.
You don't require someone to upgrade. You can perfectly live with the old one because it's great. No security issues, and this is what I think. It's we hope no more than that. And again, security issues. We could never exclude this option. That's why we will never ask someone to embed the entry point in your proxy. You do want to be able to upgrade it, just in case of catastrophe.
Yep.
Yep.
Cool.
Also, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I finished.
No, I forgot to give an update on Fastlane introducing shared mempool on Polygon. We've done one set of tests, but only one of their validators is participating in it. So it's quite slow for a bundle to get included, but it's working. I've reached out to both Candid Mark Sheriff and Silius Vid as well. They would be hopefully adding support, so we might probably test it out. But unfortunately, At the moment, Atlas are introducing this only on entry point 6. So I'm not sure, Dan, when are you looking to add support for entry point 6 for the shared mempool, or is it only for EP7?
Yeah, we're going to go directly to 7.
Okay.
More information on what Fastlane is doing. Like, is there like a document on like the architecture that they're?
I'll share. It's just another endpoint. Apparently, what Polygon validators are reluctant to open up their conditional endpoint to the entire world. So, but given that Fastlane already are working closely with a lot of Polygon validators, what they have done is they have created a wrapper endpoint for conditional, which all bundlers would have to submit it to. They would unwrap the bundle, check whether a user op is not part of the public mempool. If not, it would be broadcast to all peers in the public mempool, and then again submit it directly to a validator. So that's their approach, and this is the workaround we have right now to introduce shared mempool and Polygon.
So this is like basically adding this Fastlane intermediary that has the ability to essentially just unwrap every bundle.
Correct.
And take all of the profits. Like
No. What Fastlane does is it will accept a bundle as long as all the user operation were visible on the public mempool. If you try to send a private user operation or private bundle, you will get a delay of 1 or 2 seconds, because it will first unbundle your user operation, publish everything, and then 2 seconds later, if it's still valid, it will submit it, which obviously it will be too late because all your user operation will be bundled by someone else. If all the user operations you are bundling are in the public mempool, you get included immediately. They prevent private mempools. That's what they do also with transactions.
Yeah.
If you see something through they do the same with normal transactions. Here they have to understand what a user operation is, so they run with a bundler in order to listen to the mempool, in order to unbundle it. But if you are reading your user operation from the public mempool, you will get included immediately.
Yeah. It's not ideal, right? Because we're adding like we have this decentralized permissionless mempool now going through a centralized.
I totally agree with you. I had the same concern, but unfortunately on Polygon, because the validators are not willing to expose that, we have no other go.
I have we have the MEV provider, which is of course centralized by definition.
Yeah.
On a Polygon, and this MEV provider provides us some way to get the mempool to run. Hopefully, because of that, validators will expose the API directly, which will allow us to run a real permissionless mempool.
Well, I'd love to see whatever information's out there on this, so just shoot it my way.
Sorry, I didn't catch that, Dan. What did you say?
Whatever information you have, just send it over to me. I'd be interested.
I'll do that.
What's happening?
I'll do that.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Do we have anything else?
Not from me.
No, nothing from me as well. Okay, if that's it, then yeah, have a nice day, Will.
Yeah.
One quick question before we go. Earlier, we used to have this call 1 week prior to the ACD, but now it's on the same day. Do you want to go back to the earliest schedule, or is this fine?
I don't know. It's fine.
Fine either way.
Okay, that's fine. Then we'll retain the same time and every alternate Thursday. Cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Speak to you later then. Cheers.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.